I'm going to call this meeting of the New Hanover County Board of Education to order. If you would please rise for the invocation. That'll be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance and posting of colors. If we could pray. Gracious God, creator of all great and wondrous things, we come to you this evening asking for your blessing on all those assembled here. We ask for guidance and civility in all our discussions. We pray for our students, parents, teachers, and administrators, that they may be blessed with the wisdom to touch the educational needs of each child as an individual. We pray for our country, state, and local leaders that they may make wise decisions for education. We pray for those who serve in our armed services. We often forget that though we may feel safe and secure in our community, they nevertheless stand in harm's way. Watch over them and grant them a safe return to their loved ones. These things we ask in your holy name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Everyone may be seated. Well, let me first say that the national anthem was sung by the Myrtle Grove Middle School Choir, Principal Sam Highsmith, and Instructor Caitlin Baden. I'm sorry. And so now if we could you would give us your name and what grade you're in.
Grace Mouton, 7th grade.
Taylor Hutchins, 7th grade.
Ella Shinette, 7th grade.
Kate Stevens, 7th grade.
My name is Madeline Reneker in 7th grade.
Isabella Young, 7th grade.
Emily Coco, 7th grade.
My name is Haven Habrat, 8th grade.
Molly Walters, 8th grade.
Mason Morgan, 8th grade. Ariana Wood, 8th grade.
Sergeant.
Carson Hubbard, 11th grade. I'm Cadet Ensign.
Cadet Petty Officer, 2nd class, Hightower, 10th grade.
Cadet Chief Petty Officer Astrakis, 10th grade.
Cadet Seaman Robertson, 9th grade.
Caitlin Baden, teacher at Myrtle Grove Middle School.
And the honor guard was from John T. Hoggart High School, Principal Dr. Stephen Sullivan, and the instructors Commander David Everett and Staff Sergeant Richard Gahard. I apologize if I mispronounced it. All right, Ms. Adams, would you call the roll, please? Here.
Here. Here. Here.
You have before you the agenda. Are there any changes or additions? Any changes or additions? Okay.
None.
Do I hear a motion that we adopt the agenda?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. It is our agenda. We have several sets of minutes for approval. Is it okay if we just do them all at one time?
Yes, move for approval.
Okay. Have a motion for approving the minutes for November the 3rd of 2016, special meeting, December the 6th, special meeting, December 21st, special meeting, January 13th of 2017, special meeting, January 21st, retreat meeting, February 1st, special meeting, and February 7th, regular meeting. You have a motion to accept it. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. They are received. Next item on our agenda, recognition of achievement.
Thank you, Mr. Higgins. Good evening, everyone. Tonight, we have the honor of recognizing our own board members who have recently completed training through the North Carolina School Board Academy for School Boardsmanship. This high-quality training program helps board members effectively fulfill their responsibilities as leaders in public education in North Carolina. This recognition is awarded to individuals who have participated in a minimum of 30 cumulative hours of training as a school board member. And tonight, we are proud to recognize 3 of our own board members for their commitment to training and professional development. So, when I call your name, if you would please come forward. Our first board member to be recognized is Mrs. Jeanette Nichols. Mrs. Nichols has earned the Diploma of Honor for over 500 cumulative hours of training as a school board member. Congratulations, Mrs. Nichols. Next, our chairman, Mr. Edward Higgins, has earned the Bronze Award for completing over 600 hours of training as a school board member. Congratulations, Mr. Higgins. And finally, Mr. Don Hayes has earned the Silver Award for completing over 700 hours of training as a school board member. Congratulations, Mr. Hayes. We thank and appreciate all of our board members for the hard work they do for our school district. And next, we would like to recognize our 2017 Rookie of the Year, Ms. Lindsay McDermott of Ashley High School. Is Ms. McDermott here? give you a little background, the downtown Wilmington Rotary partnered with New Hanover County Schools to recognize beginning teachers with less than 3 years of experience. There were 5 finalists, but it was Miss McDermott's story that was so compelling. She told about a story of a negative experience that she had that had an impact on her decision to pursue a career in education. A teacher punished her for forgetting her book, which she left at home because she had stayed up late reading. And so as an educator, and I love this about you, she has vowed never to put a child in a corner. So we would like to honor you and thank you for being an innovative teacher leader that you are. Congratulations to you, Ms. McDermott. If your family or principal are here, would you please stand so we can recognize you as well? Next, we have some students who have won the Scholastic Writing Awards in the Southeast region at large, and they've competed with students in 8 states. Gold Key winners will automatically advance to national judging, where medalists will be announced next week. So at this time, we would like to recognize some of our brilliant young writers. From Ashley High School, Brianna Cunliffe won a Gold Key for poetry and an honorable mention for a personal essay or memoir. From New Hanover High School, I don't think she's here tonight, but we saw her last month, Mina Yakubu got an honorable mention for poetry. From Hoggard High School, Madison Lee, honorable mention for flash fiction. Claudia Opper earned 2 Gold Keys for humor, a Silver Key for critical essay, and an honorable mention for critical essay. There she is. Next, we have 2 sisters, Abby Scholler. Is Abby here? 2 honorable mentions for the personal essay and critical essay. And Callista Scholler, who earned 7 awards. Callista earned 5 Silver Keys, 2 in the category for humor, and others for science fiction, short story, and poetry. Ashley Thaxton, honorable mention for poetry. And finally, Rose Trimpe Warhoftik, honorable mention for critical essay. Congratulations to all these student writers. And our final award this evening is very exciting. This is for a young lady who won the Girl Scout Gold Award. And we learned that that's the highest achievement award in Girl Scouts. And her name is Yamina Lewis. Is Yamina here? There she is. Miss Lewis is a senior at Laney High School, and she's been in Girl Scouts since 2005. The name of her project was Yummy's Helping Hands. That's so cute. Her goal was to generate more awareness around rare and challenging medical conditions that primarily affect children. And to help her local community, Yamina hosted an event to recruit volunteers to help organizations that help children and their families. That's so awesome. We're so proud of you. Congratulations for doing such a great thing for children. That concludes our award ceremony. Thank you so much.
That's great. Yeah. Nationals, yeah. And y'all know it, so.
All right, next item on our agenda is the call to the audience. I have had 4 people to sign up. I must remind you, each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. Time does not permit a dialogue between the board and the community. While the board welcomes residents to share their views, the chairman retains the right to limit discussion on a particular topic when such comments may become slanderous or personal in nature. The first person I've had to sign up is Douglas Falk.
Thank you so much for allowing me to speak before you folks this afternoon. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, distinguished members of the board, and Mr. Superintendent. My name is Doug Falk, and I am the state manager for First Financial and a resident of New Hanover County. Our business is located at 3904 Oleander Drive. Tony Satterfield and I, which is present tonight with me, we started our business in 1993 to provide employee benefits for school systems throughout the state of North Carolina. In 2003, we merged with First Financial Group of America to increase our buying power and increase our access to cutting-edge technology. As residents of New Hanover County, we are invested in the success of New Hanover County schools. We are constituents of this board, and also we have children and grandchildren here that are in New Hanover County schools. We also have employees and their family members that are here that are residents in Wilmington. Rebecca Herrick, our wellness director, her spouse, Larry, he's a teacher at Lake Forest Academy, right near here. Claude Bridger, a local Wilmington agent and New Hanover County resident, will be working with us in servicing New Hanover County schools. We offer benefits and services that equal or surpass the offerings of other providers. All benefits and services offered are under one umbrella and not outsourced to other companies. In addition, we offer Section 125 administration. We guarantee IRS compliance, which relieves the school system and the school board of this responsibility. We also offer in-house COBRA administration for the employees of New Hanover County Schools. We fully fund flexible spending accounts on the first day of the plan year. We do not ask New Hanover County Schools to fund these accounts. We provide competitive, guaranteed issue products and hands-on wellness programs connecting your employees, our employees, or your employees to the local wellness resources. All services are provided at no fees to the employees or to the employer of New Hanover County Schools. As your local plan provider, we will meet or surpass all services and benefits that may be offered by other companies. Doing business with us will contribute to the growth and the strength of the New Hanover County economy. Employees can visit our office, and our local presence in the school will provide hands-on service. Your employees will have instant access to the service. Our commitment is to be in the schools throughout the plan year and not only at open enrollment. We will visit with employees to help with questions, concerns, and claims. No other provider can be here local as we are. As the only local company involved in this bid process, providing superior products and cutting-edge technology, I respectfully ask that you appoint First Financial Group of America as your benefits provider for your cafeteria plan. As your neighbor, constituents, local PTA members, and supporters of New Hanover County Schools, we're asking you to support us as a local business located here in Wilmington. Our families are a part of New Hanover County Schools.
Ask you to wrap it up.
I am right now. Our families are a part of New Hanover County Schools, and we ask that our business be included in your family. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next speaker, Chris Pierce.
Members and chairman of the board, thank you for the opportunity to share with you this evening. I greatly appreciate it. My name is Chris Pierce, and I've had the privilege of working with the employees of New Hanover County Schools since 1994. For 23 years, we've been blessed to work here, and we've also worked with 81 currently of the North Carolina public school systems, making up about 140,000 employees across the state. Here at home in New Hanover, we currently insure 2,000 of your employees in a voluntary benefits program. This makes up a little over 10,000 policies, again, between spouse, children, employees, etc. Some of these policies go back to 1994 when we started, and employees have a considerable amount of built-up benefit in those policies, over $3 million to be exact. In addition, a lot of your retirees still have those policies as well, and we're thankful for that. Chairman and board members, I'm here this evening because of a recommendation coming before you later. If there's a change in the provider, these employees could lose these benefits and the tax savings they've enjoyed for so many years. Another reason I'm here this evening is the last 10 years. In the last 10 years, 10 school systems in North Carolina have moved from the carrier you all are that's being recommended. These 10 school systems total 13,700 employees, and we're very thankful for every one of them. What's interesting is in looking at the process that was involved, I want to thank the committee that did the evaluation, but in most instances, and especially those 10, there was extensive policy structures, et cetera, prices that were asked of us. We had multiple meetings with committees to discuss different plans, et cetera. 5 years ago, I was privileged to share with y'all's committee at the building down the hill, and they asked for specific prices on every one of our benefits. You know, I guess I asked, how do you compare benefits without prices? And I've been asked that several times over the last 2 days. When the RFP we received, it had a note in there where they didn't want specific pricing. And so I went back through the purchasing agreement and just clarified, and again, they didn't want specific pricing. In order to provide the best for employees of the 81 school systems that partner with Pierce Group, we have to study rates, plan structures for all employees across the state. There's a tremendous difference. For example, some school systems have transitioned from Pierce Group, from who you all are recommending, or the committee is recommending to Pierce Group, have had policies canceled within a 45-day notice. That's a major problem, so again, that's a concern as well. Wrapping this up, please, the practice commonly used by other carriers is, again, on stopping those benefits is a concern. When you look at the 10 school systems that's transitioned to Pierce Group in the last 10 years, we have allowed 9 of them to keep their policies current. My request is please to ask the board this evening, for the benefit of the employees, to table this in order to give the committee and board members more time to evaluate all the policies and structure of those policies in more detail. I realize enrollments are pending in the next few weeks.
Mr. Pierce, I'm going to need you to.
Thank you. One more sentence, but if you'll allow us the opportunity to extend a 1-year contract, please, and then look at it extensively, I would thank you. Thank you for your time this evening.
Next individual, James Moore.
Good evening, board members, chairman, superintendent. I'm Jim Moore, James E. Moore Insurance Agency here in Wilmington. We've been here for 60-some years. And I wanted to tell you my connection to the Pierce Group, which started a few years ago. I have coffee with Sheila Bowles and a bunch of people at 6:30 every morning of the year except Christmas. And she was always talking about her health benefits as an employee. And finally I said, Sheila, who are you talking about? Pierce Group. I kept hearing more. I said, I want to know more. Finally, I called them and told them that I wanted to meet them. I did, and they looked as good on the inside as they did on the outside. So we are now their local arm. They use our name, which I've been asked dozens of times over the years to do that, and I've said no. This time I said yes. I had that much confidence. Getting involved in this process is different from what we do most of the time, which is more in the private sector. But my concern was, and I've talked to a couple of people and I've gotten some answers. My concern was, is the board getting sufficient information on premiums. It's so complicated, and if you just look at parts of it, you don't get the full picture. I think they were trying to get it simplified, to get apples to apples, which makes sense, but I'm not sure it gives the full picture. Another thing, as Chris said, I saw some of the literature, and I think that they were asking not to talk about all the premiums, but one thing I think the Pierce group did 3 years ago was implement a self-funded dental benefits plan, which, as I understand it, now has accumulated $200 and some thousand of the employees' money as a cushion for those employees. I think that's significant. I don't know whether the board knows that. Another thing, he covered that, I think the minutes said that they had been working for 5 years, and it's 23, I think. So just a lot of things I want to be sure that the process is complete and that the employees get the best they can. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Hank Hurd.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. Superintendent. I want to congratulate the board members on receiving your certificates. I taught the finance classes at Carolina Beach last summer. I think some of you may have been in that through the North Carolina School Boards Association, and that's a pretty rigorous program. I'm Hank Hurd, representing Mark III Employee Benefits, and I'm here this evening to commend this board for putting out an RFP. You heard Mr. Pierce mention earlier that your plan had not been put out for 20-plus years. There's a lot that has changed in the employee benefits business in that many years. Mark III also has gained several thousand school employees under our programs over the last several years. When you put out an RFP, it's pretty comprehensive, and it covers all the policies that are issued to your employees. Our plan is guaranteed issue on all the products we have. It's just, you know, your committee vetted each area that was on the RFP, the service. The districts that we're in, the larger districts, Guilford County Schools, Durham Public Schools, Cumberland County Schools, Alamance, Burlington, Pitt County, we're servicing a tremendous amount of school districts your size. Raises for your employees have been very scarce over the last several years since the Great Recession. So it's become more and more important to Board of Education's for recruitment and retention of your staff to have a Class A benefit program for your employees. Your committee did an outstanding job of vetting all the firms that bid. They're recommending Mark III Employee Benefits to service your account. And we would welcome that opportunity to do so. And the committee basically checked all our references out. We checked the similar sized school districts that we're servicing. We have the same software that you run. We're basically providing excellent service. It was mentioned earlier about self-insuring the dental program. We're a very large self-insured administrator of the program. We just were awarded last year Wake County Schools plan. They put out a national RFP for dental. Mark III Employee Benefits was awarded that account. So it also has worked basically in a very positive position for that school district. Durham Public Schools has $1.5 million in their bank from self-insured dental. Alamance Burlington, several hundred thousand. Pitt County also has a new plan. Long story short, through that process, we hope that you will allow and honor your committee that went and did due diligence as far as allowing and the presentations, and for them to recommend us. We're honored, and we hope that you will honor the committee's recommendation, and we look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Thank you. That was the last call to the audience. Next item on the agenda, administrative personnel. Administrative recommendation, Appendix A, Dr. Martha.
Good evening, Board. We have two administrative recommendations to make tonight. The first one is for the position of Career Technical Supervisor. This will replace Ms. Laverne Pickett, who recently retired. My pleasure to recommend Shamika Shuford, who currently serves as the Career Technical Education Teacher at DC Virgo Preparatory Academy. Previously served as a CTE Education, IT Coordinator, and Information Technology Education Instructor with Charlotte Meck, and an instructor at Central Piedmont Community College. Ms. Shuford's administrative contract will be in effect until June 30th, 2019. She has a bachelor's in computer science from NCA&T, a Master's in Systems Management and School Administration license from Gardner-Webb University. It's my recommendation to recommend Ms. Schufer.
You have heard the recommendation of the superintendent. Do I hear a motion that we accept it?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is approved.
All right, Ms. Schufer is here tonight. If she will stand and be recognized and introduce her guest. Recommendation. As you know, we've been working over the last year to put together a CTE high school, and we are on the cusp of opening that up this fall. I cannot thank the board enough for their leadership on this endeavor, but it's time to put a face to this organization in terms of a principal. So it is my recommendation that we select Dr. Edith Skipper. Dr. Skipper currently serves as the principal of Pender County Early College, previously served as the education coordinator with the preschool program in Pender County, the Eckers consultant with UNCW, fourth grade teacher with New Hanover and Bladen counties. Her contract will be in effect until June 30th, 2019. She has her bachelor's degree in elementary ed and her master's degree in school administration and a doctorate, all from the University of North Carolina at Wilmington. So I recommend Dr. Edith Skipper.
You have heard the recommendation. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is approved.
All right, Dr. Skipper is here tonight, and she's got some folks with her.
All right, next item on our agenda is information, online employment application process, Appendix E, PowerPoint, Dr. Welmers.
No, you missed B on administration.
Administration.
Item B, contract renewals.
Wait a minute, what am I looking at? Oh, I skipped over. I'm sorry. I apologize. I actually missed Head Start too. I just skipped right on down.
You're gonna
Got him off the
adjourn
hook.
next?
Yeah, I got him all wound up, that's right. Administrative contract renewals, Appendix B, Dr. Markley.
All right, I bring forward tonight for renewal contracts for Dr. Holliday as Deputy Superintendent, Dr. Welmers as the Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources, and Dr. Smith as the Assistant Superintendent for Instruction. These are the same contracts that were in place already. They've expired, so I'm asking for renewal of them for 3 years. And why it's 3 is that contract cannot extend past the contract of the superintendent.
You have heard the recommendation. Do I hear a motion?
So moved. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? They are approved.
Thank you.
All right, now, let me start marking stuff on here. All right, Head Start report. Report from Liaison, Appendix C, Mr. Shell.
You have in your packet this item that's placed up here, and this is a requirement that we present to you, the demographics, and what all these good folks are doing at Head Start. And I know you've heard it before, but there's 260 young people out there that they're changing their world. And you can see the demographics. I won't go through that. You have it in your packet. At the bottom of this page are some of the items that took place in February. I encourage you to read over that. The second item that we have before us is the expenditure report. And we made adjustments last month so that the budgetary information that you're working there ties to the grant rather than tying to the fiscal year, because that's what Ms. Smiles is managing. That's what these folks are working under. And as you can see, we are, through January 31st, we are 9 months through this grant year. So that's 75% of the year. And we have spent 71% of the money. So they're well within budget. It's being well managed. Are there any questions about that?
Any questions?
Okay. And then last but not least, we have a treat for you. So what I'd like to do is introduce our principal at Johnson Elementary, Rachel Greer, and have her take it from there. Enjoy the show.
To my right are Sarah Donnelly, one of our amazing pre-K teachers, and Beth Peddle, who has a title that doesn't encompass half of what she does, but she's amazing, and she's going to help us navigate this slideshow. We appreciate being here before you to answer the question, what difference does Head Start make? And to answer this question, we are going to invite you through one of our students' day to follow his day at Johnson Pre-K. At 7:15 a.m., as soon as I walk in the door, I know I am an important, lovable member of my classroom community. I know my teachers care about me. 7:20 a.m. School routines are a breeze for me. I learn the value of organization. I see all the letters in my name.
On the slides with the bold green words, you are able to see our standard course of study for preschool, which are used to plan our daily instruction. As Dayon's teacher, I've intentionally planned every part of his day, starting from the moment he walks into the classroom.
7:45 a.m. It might look like playtime, but it's really engineering with practical application of force and motion as I develop fine motor skills. The images on the wall behind me are tools to help us self-regulate.
In pre-K, our classroom is strategically designed to facilitate learning through intentional play. I set up my classroom in interest areas, which include a writing area, a library center, a science center, and an art center, just to name a few. This day, Dayon was choosing to play in blocks, where he was exploring how to build his own train track.
8 a.m. Not only do I learn how and when to wash my hands, I also learn to brush my teeth. 8:15 a.m. Breakfast. I recognize healthy food options. I engage in language skill development with my friends, and I practice table manners.
In pre-K, children are able to practice self-help skills such as washing their hands, using utensils to eat, tying their shoes, and opening their own milk cartons, which we all know is very challenging for young children. These routines help children build confidence and learn the self-regulation skills needed when they go to kindergarten.
9 a.m. I have an important job assignment for the day in my classroom. I'm in charge of counting my classmates to help with attendance. 9:15 a.m. Mathematics in action. I can count to 8, just like a kindergarten student. 9:30 a.m. I know that big curves, little curves, big lines, and little lines make all capital letters.
I deliberately planned these small groups to address specific skills related to mathematics and writing, using curriculums such as handwriting without tears. After Dayon completed his math storybook, he was able to read it to our furry visitor, a canine service dog.
10:30 a.m. I see how to shoot hoops and learn that energy transfers from my arms to the ball. With 1 hour of physical activity a day, I get the exercise needed to be strong.
Our hour of outside play allows students to engage in gross motor activities such as climbing on playground structures, learning to ride a tricycle, and of course everyone's favorite, learning how to swing.
11 a.m. I look through the lens of a scientist to see how seeds travel through the wind.
Even when we are outside, we are able to apply our standard course of study during simple activities like picking a flower and spreading its seeds, or inspecting different bugs found on trees or in the grass. It's in these everyday moments how our students are able to learn and explore the world around them.
1 p.m., I need a nap.
After a long day of learning and play, followed by a yummy lunch, Dayon takes a well-deserved nap. This allows his brain and body to rest and recover.
1:45 p.m. While I wait on my daycare van, I say goodbye to my friends. We want to leave you with words to ponder. From North Carolina Early Childhood Foundation. Brains are built, not born. 90% of your brain's capacity develops before age 5. Our words. There are only 2,000 days between the birth of a child and kindergarten, and we make each day count. Thank you.
Well, I know I share the board's view that we appreciate everything that Head Start is doing and does for the youth of our county. So thank y'all for all you're doing. All right, now I'm to the information section. Online employment application process, Dr. Welmers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And personally thank the board for giving me an opportunity to serve this wonderful county a little while longer. I appreciate that. Normally I wouldn't take your time to tell you about a new computer program that we're using to track folks that we're trying to hire. But there's a very important reason that's embedded in this, and I think you'll get it in just a minute. For about 6 years, we've been using a module under the Human Resource Management System that everyone who wants to try to put up a job for employment, no matter what the job is in the system, it's posted and it's tracked through that process. And that program has been pretty antiquated and pretty old for quite some time. And our principals and our supervisors who use it have struggled through it and have done pretty well. And some of us in HR have been called different names because of it, but it's gone pretty well. So the state has now, in 2015, decided to change to something that they were originally going to call Teacher Match. But I think after they looked at that for a while, they thought it was a dating service, so they kind of backed off of that. And it is, since then, was the North Carolina School Jobs Powered by People Admin, which was too long to put on anything. So it's ended up being People Admin, and it's going to run that program much like HRMS did, but in a neater way. It's more up to date, and it's going to give us a lot of kind of processes that will help as we move through applicants. It's ready to roll out now, and this is just the fact that we need to move on. We weren't quite in the Stone Age, but we were still running some pretty slow stuff. Under this new program, principals can see more applicants, and principals can actually share applicants between each other, which gives them much more visibility on what they're doing. If a principal interviews 5 people and 3 of them are really top-notch teachers, that principal can share with another principal, say, I've got this great teacher, and literally send that information to the other principal. There's more visibility on all jobs posting. Social media can track through all of this and also tracks through when we post on Twitter, on Facebook, on all of our different media that we put our ads on. So actually it's all better linked now so candidates can see that. And finally, administrators will have fewer emails in their inbox. In the past, we had a paper application that basically was an electronic application, but then all the paper that came with it, the letter of interest, the resume, all that. Well, now it can all be posted into one place electronically, and the principal sees all that together. And that makes a huge difference in time of what the principal needs to look at those candidates. And once again, can share those candidates with other principals. Now, this is the reason that I'm up here telling you this, because normally you'd all go, well, that's real nice, John, and you could have told me that. But the reason is that when the state changed over to this program, all applications that are on file for New Hanover County schools and all the school systems in the state disappear when we start this program, which was yesterday. So what that means is that every single person who has applied for any job in New Hanover County schools ever is now gone. If they applied last Wednesday, it's gone. And one thing I want to do is tell our television audience that if you've done that, you need to reapply. Because that was one of the things the state did. Now, you may say that doesn't sound good, but it actually helps, because you think that for 7 years we've had people applying for these jobs. And during that 7-year period of time, many of them have gotten jobs, but that application continues to move through. Or people have left the desire to be employed, but yet when a principal searches for elementary licensed teachers, they all pop up. And it takes everybody a long time to search through and find out who's current and who, well, really isn't interested anymore. So in a sense, it's kind of wiping out the whole system and restarting it, and that's going to help. But we are telling, and we're going to post it, you will see about everywhere we can put it, that if you want to apply for New Hanover County schools or any school in the state of North Carolina, you need to do that tomorrow. If you did it last week, it's gone. So that's the reason that I wanted to stand up here before you and share with you why this is important. It's going to help. It's going to help us in our hiring process, but it has to restart that application process with new applicants.
And our concern was you would get phone calls from folks who had said, I never got a call for this job and I applied in February for it. So this is a heads up to you folks. You can ask them if they've applied under the new system.
Right.
And that was effective today?
Yesterday.
Yesterday.
Right in the middle of the hiring season.
Not really? Nope, wait a minute. Okay, Monday would be better. They can't get in.
So, wouldn't you have a backup somewhere if you had to access that?
No, we don't. The state operates this, and we do not have that direct backup. It's everything here actually flows through the state to us. When you go on the application website takes you to the DPI site. It's kind of invisible, but that's how it works.
That's why paper's important, folks.
And folks, this does not impact our internal transfer system. This is only for new applicants.
And if you're interested, this is the training that we're going to be working with our administrators on, because the new program does have different types of pop-ups and things like that. So if you want to, you're welcome to go take a webinar and learn how this works and help out any way you want. But this is the training that we're offering to our folks.
If you've ever seen the application that comes with the current state system, it is atrocious. And the new one is a much more user-friendly kind of application, so you can get a better view of the candidate than you can in the current one.
You were talking about 6, 7 years of maybe applicants that already got a job, have moved to another state or whatever. What is the same thing going to ultimately happen though with this? I mean, is it just going to keep stacking up until the point that it'll be right back where you said we were?
And what they're saying is, and I guess time will tell, but they're saying that they're going to, I don't know that purge is a good word, but over time these applications will run out and not be in the pool. I haven't seen that operate yet or work, so I don't know how that's going to be, but that's what they're saying. So we don't get that backup of folks who aren't interested anymore.
So it may be that you don't know, I understand, but it could be that once you put an application in, that once a year you are expected to go online and maybe to say whether or not you're still available or no longer looking, or if you don't, are you still available? If you don't do anything, then as you said, it may get purged.
And that's a very good point, because the way it works is that you basically have a file on tap with us of your information. So let's say you apply a year ago and then you go work in another school system and now you want to add that to the resume that's online. You can actually go into that file and add that resume and update it. My understanding is that when you update it, that will then make it current to us, and whatever that timeline is, we'll be able to see it and use it.
Okay.
Now, our concern is, of course, with anything that the state rolls out as a new system, there are always going to be some issues. We saw when they changed over to Power School and others. So,
yeah.
Was there any piloting to this with any LEA?
There were 3 pilots or 4 pilots.
been several pilots, but actually they started last April, rolling this out with different districts. And so many, we didn't volunteer to be one of the first ones, so a lot of the kinks have already been worked out. They say that is people have been very receptive to districts letting them know anything that's not working smoothly, and they're really about correcting it. So we're going to get pretty clean. It's almost been in effect a year.
That's good. Thank you.
What is the state doing to ensure that the people that applied before that their file is no longer available to the schools? Is there anything specific that the state's doing throughout the state to make sure those applicants are aware?
Not that I'm aware of as a specific thing. I think they're leaving that up to the localities to basically notify everybody and put out as much as they can. Some of the DPI websites do have things on it that this is what's occurring through the state as it rolls out. But I think they're kind of leaving that up to us to notify the folks interested in us. Good point.
So on your website for where we did have the application process, can you put something there that tells them?
Yes, ma'am. We're going to put up big bold letters right there that if you applied before this date, you need to reapply to New Hanover County Schools, and here's the site, what you need to do.
Oh, good. Okay.
Any additional questions?
Why do we have to go through the state?
Well, the state pays for it. It does have cost to it, so the state does the cost. And the state has always run the application process through that process. There are systems who run their own, but they run into the problems of not getting what the state is seeing. When people are out of state, they go to that website and connect to the state. So I don't know the philosophy behind it, but they've done it for quite some time.
An example would be if a teacher applies, they can check which districts they're interested in. It actually increases our pool. So if you go to that, you can come to our site and get there, but you can also get there through the state and check that you want that New Hanover is one of the districts that you're interested in working in. So it's a way for us to expand our pool.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, under information, a switch from printers to copiers on books.
Okay, wanted to take this opportunity to kind of update you on the process of going from printing to printers in every classroom to having some managed copiers throughout the building. I believe you had a memo a while ago about the process, and later in the new business, going to take the new contract to you. So I kind of wanted to give you an overview. The whole purpose for doing this is to save the district money, to put money back in the schools' budgets, back in the department budgets. By moving from regular printing to just centralized printing. Currently, in the information that we've been able to gather, and it's been very difficult asking schools what they spend on toner and replacement printers and drums and transfer kits and all this, because they can purchase it in multiple methods. They can use P-cards, they do purchase orders, they use their general fund. So we've kind of been asking the schools 2 years ago, what did they spend? So using that, including what we spend on our copier contract and what we've spent on the pilot that we've done, we figure as a district, we spend conservatively at least $500,000 a year on printing needs. Okay, I believe the number is actually higher than that, but we spend at least $500,000 a year. We started a pilot with our current vendor at 3 schools, Parsley, Bradley Creek, and Forest Hills, and I've asked Robin to come here tonight so she can speak to you about the transfer and what the teachers have gone through and how it's worked at Parsley. But they did pilot for 3 years. We took the copiers out of their building. We added some printers to their building for them to use this process. They are spending less money, and the teachers are very happy about the better quality of the printing that they're getting from these needs. I'm going to ask Robin to come up and kind of just speak briefly to how it's been in her school.
Okay, so hello. So of course, anytime when something is new, it sometimes initially people are a little hesitant, But like Dawn said, we now have 5 copiers in our building. Dawn's crew came over and helped us strategically locate those in places that are conveniently located for the teachers so that they're very easy for them to be able to access. With that, we were also able to get a color copier, which we had never had before, so that was very exciting for us as well. And so once we got over that first week or so of having to do something different that was out of our traditional norm, the teachers really have enjoyed it. They, first of all, I would say to you that it enhances instruction, because when you have printers in every classroom and they are printing and printing and printing, that is noise in the classroom. So it makes a better and learning environment for our children, because that noise is not going all the time. It has kept us from printing things that we typically would not print. We've all done it. You're on your computer, you go to your printer, and whatever prints out was not what you intended to print out. So when you do this, when you go to the copier, you see a little, it doesn't print out until you go. So if you don't go, it wipes clean at night, so there's not a big queue of things the next morning. So it wipes itself clean. So if I send something to the copier and I decide, oh, I didn't really need that, then I don't even have to go clean it out, because it cleans itself out for me that night. So then when you go, it has all the print jobs that you've sent right on the screen for you, and you can see it. And if you look at that and think, oh, that's not really what I wanted, then you just don't print it. And so there's no waste. What I have really enjoyed about it, especially when I'm printing off data sheets and things like off of EVOS that requires color copies and maybe different things for every single teacher, I used to print that at my desk. And I would have all these big sheets of paper, and then I'd have to collate that. I'd have to punch the holes. I would have to do the stapling. Now, I just send it like it is. It automatically punches the holes for me, and it staples it for me. And I just go and pick it up and go and put it right in my notebook, and it saved me a lot of time. And so it's really, really been good. We have all adjusted to it, and it gets us out of our seats sometimes a little more than we should be moving a little more anyway. And so it's just really been good, and we've not had any issues with it at all. And like Dawn said, the quality of it has been so much better. You know, when you're printing and your ink is about to run out and you don't realize it, and then something comes out and it's bad quality, we don't have that problem with this either. So it's been great.
The biggest transition has been teachers having to plan ahead, because basically what they're having to do is send print jobs to the copiers in the morning and then in the end of the day and go get them at those times, versus printing class sets or things during the school day and getting them. So that has been the biggest transition that the 3 schools, they said when they addressed the teacher advisory, is having to plan ahead and make sure that you get your materials before class starts that next day, and you don't do that last minute, oh, let me go print these things. With the process that we went through is we basically went through a committee, created a committee consisting of principals, central office staff, people from purchasing, my department. The committee met to discuss what are our needs in our district for printing. Once we kind of come up with those, then I went out this past summer and visited every school, every principal, every department to kind of talk about individual school needs and locations in the building, because I didn't want to give it to the printer vendors to decide where the locations are. The principals are the ones who know their building, they know the flow, they know the best locations. So we met with those to identify those locations and to talk about exceptions and issues that they have, because one school may have one issue where it may not be an issue at another school. We then created a web page that had frequently asked questions, and I advertised that out to the whole district that they could visit that site. We had answers to questions, things that came up in the teacher advisory, and actually partially volunteered to do a video. So they made a video of the teacher sitting at the computer, choosing her print, then going to the copier and printing it out. Because for some people, it's just the process. They need to see how that secure print thing worked. So we had a teacher do that for us so we could kind of see that demonstration. The committee then met again after we met with all the schools to discuss the contents of the RFP, what we wanted to put in there. Had a subcommittee review the 8 responses, because I couldn't force principals to read through all that stuff when they had so much stuff to do. The subcommittee read through those, narrowed it down to 3 vendors, had presentations, and then the full committee was invited to the vendor presentations. So we had a bigger group. We discussed the pros and cons, and narrowed it down to the vendor that we're gonna present later tonight for new business. It is gonna be an adjustment for people, not having a printer right there. It was for people in my department. I've got no printers in my department. We have the 2 copiers and that's it. And it's forced people to have to kind of rethink how they do business. It's also saving money because they're thinking twice before they print. Anything else you want? Any questions?
How much are you saving?
I was gonna get to that in the new business, in the presentation.
Oh, you weren't through presenting.
No, well, in the action, you're gonna actually vote on the vendor presentation. So
Okay.
in that, there's on there, you're saving over $100,000 a year.
What other complaints are you getting from teachers beyond the planning side of it?
This is our second year with it. You've done it for 3 years.
This is our 3rd year, lose track of time. This is our 3rd year. We don't really have any, I mean, I don't have any recent complaints because it's just the way we do business now.
Most of the questions we're getting are from folks who know it's coming, and they ask lots of questions about the process. It's probably the #1 repeat question at the monthly teacher meeting. So I think once they get into the process, maybe some initial transition pieces, but once they're in, they've been in for 3 years, it sells itself.
I think Lauren at Bradley Creek told me, because she actually, it was the previous Jane Kiker that was there who volunteered, but then there was a switch and Lauren inherited it. And so, and that actually happened to be the year that the teacher evaluation, got done. So she got nailed on some things, and she asked her teachers, what happened? You took our printers away. She said, no, I didn't take your printers away. It wasn't my decision. Last year, they went much of it, so it's an adjustment. It's an adjustment for everybody. It's an adjustment for central office. I've had the same comments from people at central office, people sitting right here in this room with you, don't want to lose their printers. I figured if we don't do it, we can't ask the teachers to do it.
So this was not a problem with the teachers in the mobile classrooms? They have the same process as everyone else?
They have the same process, and we asked them if they would use it, and they did, and they tried. They can sign a form if they want to bring their own printer and still have a printer, but I haven't had anyone do that because it's worked out, and we put a printer or a copier that is very close to the mobile units, and so as they're in and out throughout the day, if they have something they need to copy or whatever, then they go do that. But it really has not been a problem, and they have just been well planned in advance and had what they need, and it just hasn't been a problem.
So the wiring for all of these copiers, is that going to be an issue?
When we actually went and identified the locations, we looked at where they're picking. There are some schools, the electricity's there. We may need to add some data drops, but it's not going to be that big of a cost for us. There is a school where we're going to have to look at maybe, because space is an issue, and it's easy at an elementary school to have a big hallway and maybe have one there because the kids don't typically touch things at an elementary school. At a middle school and high school, we don't necessarily want a copier out where kids walk by on a regular basis. So at Noble, there's some creativity stuff that we're going to have to do to make some adjustments there, but we're going to do that. We are keeping some printers, like the treasurers. They need to keep printers because of the checks that they print. We are keeping printers in cafeteria managers' offices, but they're still going to be part of this contract because it's still going to save us money. There are some schools where principals identified certain locations that they thought it was critical that a printer stay. Sometimes it's about the makeup of the building and the kind of walk through. For example, Sunset Park, with the principal's office at Sunset Park, for him to get to the office copier, he's got to walk through the main office area. So if he's trying to print and evaluate some data, he's never going to get back to his office to be able to do that. So him keeping a printer in his office is a smart thing to do. That's why we met with all the schools, so we could have those conversations and talk about the exceptions. So there are exceptions where printers are going to stay, but they're still going to be part of this contract.
And what about service to the copiers when something goes wrong?
There is a process. They're going to be able to either call in or go online and create the ticket to the company, and then they will be out. They have promised a 4-hour response time. Go right ahead.
And so we have each teacher assigned to 2 copiers. You're assigned to a black and white copier and to the color copier, which also prints in black and white if you need for it to. And so if one of the printers that you're assigned to is down, then the other printer should be working, or copier should be working.
Okay. And we're gonna have we've also, one part of the RFP was a solution for student printing, because it's important at all levels, elementary, middle school, and high school, that students are able to print as well. Like for the high schools, I think that in the middle schools and high schools, we need to have a copier in the media center that students can print to. We just gotta we'll have software to help us manage that and figure that out. And Pat has volunteered at Ashley to be a guinea pig for us through that process. We're trying to think of everything. I'm sure there'll be something that'll come up. That's why we want to do this process early. So once we award it, then we can start having conversations with that vendor, make any adjustments, do any training, or other things that we need to do before July, when this starts.
So the pilot was with 4 or 5 schools?
3 schools.
3 schools, okay.
Parsley, Bradley Creek, and Forest Hills.
And then now that you've done the pilot, you're ready to roll it out system-wide?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're gonna have a big surplus sale, huh?
Well, I wonder how many printers this eliminates, because it's gonna cut down on the electricity, if nothing else. Take out 1,000 printers. Next item on the agenda, procedure for employee contract renewal, Dr. Welmers.
Yes, we're coming up to that point in the year where we start looking at next year and planning. I've also asked them to talk about this tonight because we have the K-3 issue sitting out there that is still unresolved, and this could potentially impact that K-3 issue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Dr. Markley. Personnel decision timeline is basically just encompassing the different timelines that we have when we make decisions concerning personnel as we move through the school year, the evaluation cycles, when we have to make recommendations to the board for different types of decisions. Most of these concern certified staff, or all of them actually do to a point. And what I want to do is just quickly run through these. We follow, of course, an established timeline that's based on the public laws of North Carolina, our school board policies that we've established, the procedures that we use, which are written as far as administrative handbooks, and of course a best fit practice. That philosophy being that we're always looking for the best fit for any individual that we look at a position. The teacher contract renewal timelines. And I apologize that we changed some of these, if you noticed. This was a good exercise for us because we're in a kind of a unique period of time as far as the general statutes go concerning what we do with teachers, because there's actually kind of 2 paths. You know that the General Assembly did away with teacher tenure. When that was done, that created a path of what we do for teachers who are on 1-year contracts. And that's supposed to hold up until 2018, when that may change, supposed to change. But then there's also teachers that retain tenure and did not lose tenure by the state. So we actually have to follow the path that they were originally under as tenured teachers. So there's 2 ways we need to go, and it kind of, when we looked at it, Wayne did a very good job of going through, and we had to pick out dates because they kind of double over on each other, and I think we've got them set. It was a good exercise. Throughout the school year, this is on teacher renewal, and throughout the school year, the principals are doing their evaluations on teachers. Depending upon whether the teacher is a non-tenured teacher or a tenured teacher and where they are in the number of years they've been with New Hanover County Schools depends upon the evaluation process the principal uses. But after they get done with that process, they create a summative evaluation, and that is like the summary of where they think that teacher is. In January, we asked principals to contact Human Resources if they believe that that teacher is running into issues. And sometimes it can be that we have new teachers who are new to the field, they're needing more help. We try to provide that help. We always want to make sure that we don't play a got you with a teacher at the end of the school year. We always want to make sure we give them every opportunity to get better and to be where they need with us. So they actually contact Dr. Hahn at that time, who then follows a process to look at what we need to do to bring extra help to that teacher. And the principals are really good to work with us on trying to do that. In April, the principals submit to us all non-renewal recommendations. These are the teachers under contract that we're going to recommend possibly the non-renewal of that teacher. In other words, we're going to say a non-renewal is a type of termination, but it is really just that we're not going to invite you back next year. Now, you have the right to contest that if you want, or at this point in time, you may want to step out of employment with New Hanover County Schools, and they can actually resign from New Hanover County Schools and look at employment elsewhere. Please keep in mind that we set a higher bar than most other counties on how we do renewal for teachers. And I'm not in any way saying other counties don't want the best teachers, they do. But sometimes those teachers could go elsewhere and gain employment and do all right by that county. By May 7th, we're looking at all non-tenure service staff are due to us for the actual recommendation. That's what's going to come to you for non-renewal. And the superintendent by June 1st will provide you with written notice to non-tenure teachers of his intent to recommend to you all that we're going to non-renew that teacher. Now, the teacher has the right to request a hearing before the board on that non-renewal recommendation. That has to be done by June the 1st. By June, the board votes on approving the contracts. That's when we give you that list of folks that we want you to approve. You have to notify those teachers who are non-renewed by June 15th. Failure to do that can create a situation where we can pay them a little extra money by a month's pay. So all those are determined by the state, by our policy, and how we go through the renewal cycle. We do that with all teachers, regardless of where they are in the system. Yes,
How much time does the teacher get to file an appeal?
I don't think, there's 10 days after we notify them of the non-renewal.
Wayne, is that business or calendar?
Calendar, yeah. Now, we try to let the teacher know long before we get to that notice that we're there. I mean, that should never be a surprise when the principal walks in to explain that to the teacher. Administrative contract renewals. The same thing is basically going on. The superintendent is looking, or depending upon where the administrator is, at the principal's goals and objectives, and it works through the year on completing evaluation on all the principals. The principals themselves are doing the assistant principals. So part of the evaluation process is what are they doing with the assistant principals. By May 1st of the final year of the contract as a school administrator, keep in mind that the principal contracts can go 4 years or can go 1 year depending upon where they are at their beginning when we first hire them. But let's say they're on a 4-year contract. In the 4th year, the final year of their contract, the superintendent must notify the administrator of his recommendation of non-renewal or the extension of a new contract as a 4-year by May the 1st. The board votes on approval of non-renewal or extension of that contract for school-based who are in the final year. That's when we bring it to you all, and I run through it and you all vote. The board notifies the school administrator of non-renewal or extension of a new contract by June the 1st. So that's kind of a more compact timeline for administrators, but that's how it works. Teacher transfer. I get a lot of questions about that, and that's very important because teachers are always looking at how they can transfer, what the issues are, where we are, and I know you all hear those issues from teachers. This is, of course, governed by policy, and in January, the voluntary transfer request process begins with the opening of the online transfer request portal. It is an online process. The teacher can go in, they can put the schools to which they want to transfer, where I'd like to go, and they have until it closes in the first Friday in March. When that closes, then they can't go back in and change anything, but they can request transfer to any school, any individual school, or all schools, whichever they prefer. During that time, they can go in and change, they can add. Now, on that date, one of the issues is that teachers will say, well, when we close in March, we don't know who the principals are going to be in some of the other schools. Well, I used to think that was a pretty good argument until now, where we have much more movement of principals and assistant principals through the system. We don't have the same steady principal situation we used to have in the past when 20 years ago when I was doing that. It's changed some, so it's very hard to look at getting that information out. The other reason that you don't want to go past March, we then open that timeline up for the principals to start choosing who they might consider to come to their school at that time. But what we do is we give the priority schools an emphasis, a head start, you might say, on looking at who's out there for transfer. Now, one thing that's always kind of argued by teachers, the principal who is, let's just take Dr. Hamilton, who's sitting over here. Let's say the teacher wants to transfer from Dr. Hamilton to another school. Dr. Hamilton does not know that that teacher has requested transfer to another school. The only person who knows that is the school to which she requested transfer. The principal of that school, we'll say it's Bradley Creek, knows that she's requested a transfer there. If that principal is interested in getting that teacher from Dr. Hamilton, that principal, which would be Dr. Kefalonitis, would then call Dr. Hamilton and say, hey, Tim Markley has requested transfer to my school. What can you tell me about Tim? And they can then talk, and then Robin can do that. That's usually a pretty good process, and typically the principals are very open in saying what they're going to say about that individual. And then the principal can make a decision whether to accept it or not accept the transfer. The person can be interviewed by the new school, and they can make a decision on that transfer.
So if the teacher does not request a potential transfer, and then time goes by, and they see an opening, they can't request it.
If it's past the March 4th date, that's correct.
Right. But if they do request a transfer in that time frame, and an opening comes up, they can choose whether to take it or not?
Yes, sir, they can.
But if they put in for a transfer and they don't want the job, do they have the ability to say, no, I want to stay where I'm at?
Yes, they do. They don't have to accept. It's not a forced transfer. They can say no.
So you may put Parsley down as a place you want to go, but you really want to teach third grade. If she has a fourth grade opening, she calls you about. You can say, thank you, I appreciate it, but I was really looking for a third grade.
Or they say they want to go to third grade, she has a third grade opening, are you going to force her to go?
No.
No.
Okay.
This is a voluntary transfer
Well,
process.
I'm just trying to clarify, that's all. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, if a school opening that you don't want, but you want to transfer, do you get another option, or is that it? You get one offer, or can you continue to seek a transfer?
No, you can continue. If let's say that Parsley, that the principal, well, say Dr. Kefalonitis calls and says, I'd like to have you at my school, and you go, no, I'm really kind of wanting to teach kindergarten. I've applied to Blair. They've got a kindergarten opening. I'm sorry, Dr. Kefalonitis, I'm not coming there. And then if Blair calls, they can go to Blair.
Okay.
It doesn't close the door on them.
Okay, good.
Okay? And I know you all hear from teachers in this mix is one of the reasons I wanted to kind of go through this, because it is. And one thing you hear is that they want us to move the date back. But the issue there is if we move that date back, remember that now we have more non-traditional schools who are on year-round schedules. They're opening earlier in the summer. And what we're doing is we're losing teachers going towards the opening of schools, and that teacher will say, oh, I want to move now, but if we move you, that's a vacancy in that school that may be opening next week. And that makes it harder and harder for us to fill those vacancies. And we understand that we want to support our folks in-house, but we get to a point where we're actually going to hurt the school that's losing if we go too long. Okay. And that's it.
John, could you just briefly talk RIF policy?
I'm sorry, what?
RIF policy?
The RIF policy. On teachers and on RIF, what we do is we look at...
Could you tell the audience what RIF is?
Reduction in force. And a reduction in force is governed by policy. We have two policies that do that, one concerning classified employees and one concerning certified employees. The certified employee RIF, which has to do with teachers, always looks first at non-tenured teachers. It lists those teachers and it goes by seniority downward, last in, first out, is what we look at. Now, we also take in consideration in the RIF what the person is teaching. It may be that they're a special education teacher licensed in a specific area that we can't find anyone else to teach, and you can't move another teacher into that position. So we take that into consideration under the licensure. But what we try to do is when normally we do a RIF at the school building level and then move folks to cover to keep all the schools and the classes that we need to do. So if the state forces us into a budget situation where we have to do a RIF, what we do is we try not to impact any individual school. We hate that. We hate a RIF altogether, but it can occur and has.
Is that a policy, or are you required to do it that way?
It's a policy.
Okay.
When was the last time we had to RIF employees?
2008, 2009? 2011. I'm off, missed it by 3.
When we went through the recession, when we re-looked at the policy, we made a couple of adjustments to it. It was in place, and I don't think, we got to the point where it's some classified, but we were able to transfer some of them out, most of them to other positions. So, and handled it through attrition.
And we haven't had to do that with teacher assistants, even with the,
We got, we handle most of the teacher assistant piece through attrition.
just attrition? Okay.
And that's why, if you look at our teacher assistants, we tend to have, ours tend to have a lot more experience because they've been with us for a long time. Those who were at the bottom of the scale, the new ones, were the ones who were most impacted by that. My concern, obviously, is as we look at this K-3 class size and its potential impact on art, music, PE.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Dr. Welmers.
I would like to make a comment, Mr. Chairman, if I might.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Welpers, my concern with that policy is that you could lose, if you had a RIF, you could lose some brilliant young teachers. And you could be keeping some folks that maybe aren't hitting it at the same level. And I just think it's a policy that you need to give some thought to that, because I know we don't have merit system within pay for teachers, but I think from keeping the best and brightest and performing to serve boys and girls, I'd like to see that looked at differently. That's just.
Didn't we discuss that in 08? I mean,
Yeah, it was a board-approved policy.
I understand.
well, I mean, the idea was to, you know, as I recall, the discussion at that time was that we did not want, we wanted to be as objective and not subjective as we could make it. And I understand what you're saying, but nevertheless, you know, you may have a young teacher that a principal really likes and really thinks has potential, but as yet hasn't done so. Do you get rid of of course, we still had tenure then, too. You know, do you get rid of a teacher who's got 3-4 years of experience with you in order to retain a brand-new teacher that's in their first year? I mean, we went through I think Jeanette will know, and Janice and I and Don know that we went through a real time, because that was in that 08 when they were, you know, state was cutting back money left and right, and we were having to talk about riffing people, and we had some frank discussions about how to approach it, and that's how that policy came into being. Is that not right, Ms. Nichols?
But we can always look at the policy. We can always have Dr. Wilmers to work with us, as well as Mr. Bullard, to make sure that we are being as fair and keeping the best.
We'll send copies of it so you can look at it in detail.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to do one more thing, then I've been asked to take a recess.
Okay.
Naming of the Paint Grounds building at the CBRC. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Chairman Higgins. Tonight we're asking that you begin the 6-month vetting period to name one of our facilities. It's the Paint and Grounds building at our Carolina Beach Road complex, and we would like to name that building after Gene Rackley. Gene started work for us in 1998 as an electrician. However, most of his time with the school system, he was the paint and grounds foreman until his untimely death actually on the job in October of 2015. Gene made countless contributions while working for the district, for our maintenance operations department, and for each and every school. He was a member of the SMART team. He was on the on-call team, and he was also part of the emergency response team. Personally, I look forward to seeing Gene after every hurricane, and I don't think I ever missed him. It was as soon as you were able to get out, he was there, and I always ran into him and always talked about how he and his family did during the storm, and he asked the same of me. But he was out at the schools as soon as possible, checking on the schools, clearing debris, and making repairs. He loved his job, and his dedication showed and made a difference at every one of our schools. So we would like to honor his memory by naming the Paint and Grounds building after him. We would name it the Gene F. Rackley Paint and Grounds Shop.
Okay. That's for information only.
That's
so,
correct.
What an effective policy is once it's brought forward tonight, it then sits for 6 months. So if anybody has comments, either negative or positive about naming the building, then at 6 months it comes back as an action item.
Okay.
So do we advertise like we did for the Porter's next school? Do we go through that process if anyone wants to submit a name?
We can put something out where I want to name this building. If you have any comments, please let us know.
Okay, that'll be fair.
Okay. All right, we will take a recess.